So here's what's going on so far. So far we've planted this brand new bed, which I don't know, we had some recycled materials. Trying to just be as green as I can, you know, and trying to recycle materials that are there and have a little love for the human family and the planet family as well. So we're going to be digging and we're going to be putting a new bed in here. And I've had troubles with this composter over here for a while. It's not how I've composted before. It gets too hot for the worms. It stays too moist. There's just not enough aeration and drainage in there for me. It's hard for me to turn it. And so one of the materials I want to work with over here and do some really cool stuff with is some pallet material. That's what I'm working on right now, is to knock up a new compost pile. So for the base of this compost pile, basically what I've done is I've sawed all of these loose from a couple different pallets around here, and I'm just gonna pre-drill each one of these, and I'm gonna set it down here on this and just make one solid base, because I want to have a solid base here that's actually lifted up above the ground for this pile. That's just how I'm gonna prefer doing this. So what I've done now on this project is I've taken a bunch of boards off a bunch of these pallets, and I've just screwed them down next to each other on this, and I've left a little bit of spaces, and I've left the natural warps in the wood, and I've left a few breaks in here. It's not that important for this compost pile that it's all sealed up. As a matter of fact, the more it aerates, the better. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna tilt these up on their sides like so, and eventually we're going to put all the sides of this thing together, the front, the back. We're going to have this as a base. I want to have my compost off the ground. I want aeration coming up from down below. With this pile, I'm not just going to build this pile on the ground, but as we get this wired up together, and then I'm going to put a removable front on it that we can build and stack. That'll make a little more sense a little later on as we move along in construction, but I just thought you guys would want to see what's happening now as we've got our base and we've got our our 3 sides together. We're not actually going to do a solid 4th side. We're going to do that segmented, and like I said, you're going to understand that a little bit later on. So we're a little farther along with this compost that we've been building out of these recycled pallets. As you can see, I've got the tops on, I've got a couple of side braces on here. This piece actually right here is just loose, and I used it to create a guide for a couple of slots down the side, because the pallets tend to kind of rock around and they're kind of be a little bit twisted. I basically used that as my guide, because I'm going to cut boards, and I'm going to have boards that slide in and slide out of the front. So as the compost gets higher, I can build it up over time, and I can take those off of the front. Now I'm going to cut these not exactly to length, because I know I'm actually going to rip some pieces off of this pallet over here for my slats that go in the front, but I'm not going to rip them exactly the right length. And I've also made this dimension here a little wider than the width of the boards that's going in, because I know as this fills up with soil, as it gets moist, as it gets hot and cold, it's going to want to twist, it's going to want to heave, it's going to want to move around some. So I don't want an exact fit. I want to have some looseness in there. Alright, so as you can see, I've ripped off a bunch of boards, and I've begun to build up the front of this compost pile, again with the slats that slide in and out, so we can control, basically have a door here on the front of our compost. I've got a couple other pieces here that I'll put in to finish it off, and I've begun to transfer over my compost from this style compost bin, which I'm just, you know, if you're familiar with composting with one of these things and you like it, that's great. It's been a bit of a problem for me. That's kind of why I'm moving over to something different. So right now I'm transferring over some of that compost crop. Quite a bit of it is almost done, actually. But like I said, I've been having troubles composting it in this situation over here, where there hasn't been a lot of air. There's been too much moisture, really. Even though I've been turning it, it's been hard to maintain the compost pile I wanted. I definitely didn't have enough dry matter in there. So right now I'm shredding up some newspapers. I'm getting some dry materials and also some green materials to add to this. And I'm just kind of building this up layer by layer, where I'm putting down a dry layer, whether it be shredded newspapers like I've got over here. I got some shredded newspapers over here because I'm actually salvaging some of the compost worms out of this pile and starting a different worm box. But there's some of the shredded newspaper and some of the shredded paper. I just have used a standard, document shredder to do this. So we're going to take this mess, salvage some worms for a new vermicomposting bin,